So we just wrapped up the first unscripted session in about a month. And this week we picked one of Michael's questions that essentially, exactly the question. What was it? Can you read it back?
I think you said something along the lines of, it was your question, so I'm trying to paraphrase here, but it was along the lines of, getting a sense of the importance and the urgency from a timeline perspective
That's right.
early
Is it
on.
more of a code red as in has to
Yeah,
happen now, or is it, would be nice to have, but not essential?
yeah, and we unpacked that. We talked about the difference between needs and wants. We talked about the difference between like really, really need it versus I need it. So we talked about that. We unpacked that, and we talked about timelines. Are we weeks, months, years, decades away, or is it like I kind of need to fix it now, like somewhere in between? Because depending on the answers, everything changes. Absolutely everything. And just because that's the given answer, it doesn't mean we can't move that as well. So we went into depth about all of that. But this is a big one, guys, because if you don't know who you're speaking to in the sense that where they're at, what's going on, where they want to go, what are the factors in play, you're kind of just hoping for the best and you're playing blind. And the alternative world exists where you're not hoping for the best you're knowing and you're not blind, you're seeing everything. So hopefully today's call helps people get better clarity and the ability to perform better on those fronts.
And we also found a couple of areas that we're going to cover in future weeks, but hopefully you enjoy it and we'll see you in the next one. I was talking to someone the other day about a question that you asked. What was it? Is this like a red alert has to be sorted now, or is it more of a case of, would be nice?
Yeah, nice to have or need to have.
Yeah, nice to have or need to have. And the
Yep.
question that was asked of me is, do I ask that question? My answer was no, I don't ask that.
Mm-hmm.
I ultimately get what I want. However, I felt asking that question with the style of myself, or at least how I was delivering it,
Yep.
it just didn't hit for me. So
Yeah.
maybe that's a topic that we could do. So that you can ask it directly and kind of pull that out, or maybe other techniques, methodologies, or processes whereby you get the truth, staying in the TSP vein, getting to the truth, but you don't
Is
ask
it
that question
all
verbatim.
all started, by the way?
I mean, it may as well.
Just inadvertently started the call, like pure unscripted style. First call in a month, and you've just not even announced it. You've just started the call. Is that what's going on here?
Scripted. Let's do it.
All right, all right, all right. So set the scene then, because I didn't actually know the call started until then. So what do you want to talk about today? I think I've got an idea, but
Yeah.
for the
So
viewer,
I had a question. So someone's been in TSP. They asked, do I and why not? Do I ask the question of, is this a red alert has to be sorted now, or a nice to have, not that urgent?
yeah,
And I
yeah,
said, no, I don't ask that question verbatim because it never
yeah,
felt that congruent with my style, how I
yeah,
do. But ultimately, I get to that through questioning anyway.
yeah.
Um,
What, you want my thoughts on that?
just more the premise of the question, and I suppose other ways that we can get to it.
Yeah, all right. Well, for the viewers that this might be new, a new way of thinking about something or framing something. Um, what's going on here is a couple of things. We're trying to test their motive. Like, does it matter or does it not matter? Do you need to have it or do you want to have it? Do you really want to have it or is it not that big a deal? Like, we're trying to get a gauge on where they're at in that scale because all of those answers can absolutely be in play. And then beyond that, we're trying to introduce a sense of timelines. Is it code red, red alert, the house is burning down, like I need it yesterday, if not yesterday, right now? Or is it more a case of, one day I'll get around to it, it's not that big a deal? Depending on their answers and where they sit, well, everything changes. Absolutely everything changes. Because think of like the extreme scale of it being low probability to get a sale today. It doesn't matter and there's no urgency. I'm not saying you can't make a sale from there as a start point, but like the odds are against you if that's your start point. Flip it around the other way. The house is on fire, code red, red alert. There's nothing I need more than this right now. As a simplistic start point, you got a pretty good chance. And obviously there's everywhere in the middle. And then beyond that, just because they say that or feel that, or that's what comes to them initially, it doesn't mean that's where they still sit 5 minutes later. You can ask them certain questions which can provoke new thoughts or new angles to look at it, and said newness can take them to new moments of clarity and then new positions. And before you know it, they're like, actually, I can't put this off for another 6 months. I thought I could, but now that you put it like that, I actually need to fix it kind of like now. You stress test that to make sure it's real. And now you've just moved their timelines by 6 months.
Mm.
And now the all just came alive.
The way I view it, I would cover that off in the timing question of, what's the rationale behind doing it now as opposed to weeks, months down the year, and then they're
Yeah.
justifying why it has to happen now. And I think for me, it's all in the layers. Like the first one or two things that they say, when you're pulling something apart, it's very logical. It's very, I need more money. Cool.
Yeah.
I get those details in the layers of, timing wise, what's the point now? Or even in the discovery section of figuring out what's actually going on, why that's
Yeah.
happening, what the implications of that. Give me some stories, some examples, and some timelines for it. I find that in those layers, and I think he was clever in how he did it. He got me to unpack. He got me to unpack my thoughts on that. And I think when I first started using it, it almost felt like I was cheating in that,
Mm.
asking someone the question, how does that make you feel, ... personally.
Mm.
It's, you can ask them that question in a very simplistic way and get a basic answer, or you can unpack it through layers of questioning
Yep. Yeah.
and get to the deep amount. And I think I viewed it that way because I wasn't good at it. I wasn't good at executing it at the time. And now I think it's just the starter to that layer of questioning. It's not ask once and accept it. It's ask
No.
that question and then keep going.
No. I mean, it's getting a sense as to where the other person's at, where they want to go, what factors are in play, including timelines. And then based on their answers, you obviously, if it's appropriate and needed, and there's a way to do it, you have them expand and unpack that further. You maybe challenge or seek further clarity where appropriate. See where you land on the back of that. And if it's landed in a place where you're like, okay, if it stays here, I'm irrelevant to the person in the sense that they don't need what I'm offering, or no world exists where they're going to become my next client, then you can, again, if you feel it's appropriate, you can be like, well, I'm going to see if I can move them. Because, a lot of people don't know what they don't know. And a lot of people with a fresh perspective, everything changes. I mean, you might say, listen, I think I'm 6 months away from getting started. And you're like, okay, no worries. Hey, can I ask? Is it that you want to wait 6 months to get started, or is it that you feel you have to? Now, then all of a sudden like, oh, I hadn't thought about it that way. I go, well, what comes to mind? Well, I don't have to do anything. Okay. Do you want to wait 6 months? Like, is that your preference? Well, no, not really. Well, in an ideal world, would you fix it kind of more nowish or more in 6 months' time? Like, where does it sit in an ideal scenario? Well, I guess when you put it like that, Michael, I'd probably rather fix it now. Okay. Main reason being, blah, 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 blah. Does it matter enough to fix now, or is it not that big a deal? Yeah, it matters. Main reason being, oh, okay, that makes sense. Well, what do you want to do? Do you want to look at an option where timelines maybe move more towards nowish over 6 months, or do you want to push it out for another 6 months? No, let's move it now. Play that out. You just move their timelines.
Mm-hmm.
Took a minute.
Mm-hmm.
The call just came alive. Because if they're buying or deciding in 6 months, and you can't move them from that, outside of certain purchases, like, if you don't order 6 months,
ultimately a timeline question.
Well, it's both. But firstly, it's importance, because I would say importance becomes before timelines. Because if it doesn't matter, who cares when the timelines come? So, maybe there's exceptions, but generally speaking, there's a hierarchy. Like, does it matter? Yes. Does it matter now? I would say doesn't matter is more important. Because if it doesn't matter, who cares about the timelines? If it matters, okay, well, let's figure out the right timelines to make it happen then. So you've got a sort of hierarchy how it plays out. What comes first? I would say doesn't matter, yes or no, is the start point. Because if it doesn't matter if I can do it today or tomorrow. It doesn't matter. So who cares? You're not going to do it.
Mm.
So, like, I want to know first, what is it? How is it showing up? What's the impact? I don't literally say the word impact, but like what's the outcome from that, or where's that taking you, or what's happening on the back of that? I'll use more layman language. I don't like using words like impact or even outcomes.
I didn't understand what impact meant with regards to sales until about 2 years ago, because everyone says pull apart the impact. I couldn't click on what that actually meant.
How do you think about it now? When you hear impact in a sales context, removing cliche jargon words, like, how do you think about that word?
I see it's almost like I visualize it. Impact is the third layer and beyond. It's just if layer one is just like, I don't make enough money. And then
Yeah.
layer two is, how much money are you actually making at the moment?
Yeah.
Maybe like 60 grand a year. Gotcha.
Yeah.
How is
Yeah.
60 grand not enough money?
Yeah.
That is where the impact or implications or consequences of that
Yeah.
kind of come into play. And I'm not talking like sales consequences. What happens if nothing happens? But the impact is basically you have the problem, you have
Yeah.
clarification on the problem, then you
Yeah.
have what the problem means to them. It's like if they're working massive hours, the impact is they don't get to see their kids and their wife is angry at them.
There's the key words, what it means to them.
Yeah.
When I think of impact, there's the key words, what it means to them.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? How's it showing up? What does it mean to them?
Mm-hmm.
And that's
You're saying
basically
things like impact on the call. I'd been in sales for what, 10, 12 years by the time it was 2 years ago, 10 years. And I still didn't fully understand what that meant. How do you expect a prospect to be able to explain that?
I mean, I think we've done a call on this in the past about words we don't use, but I don't use words like outcomes. I'm not going to say there's not exceptions, but generally speaking, I don't use words like outcome, impact, consequences. I don't use words like that. In my view, there's better words. There's better, more human words than words like that, which we can maybe do on another call. Yeah. So going back to the original question, like you and I just met. You're a prospect. I'm the salesperson. I know a little bit about you coming into the call because you did a pre-call questionnaire, and you know a little bit about us because you saw our marketing and you maybe clicked on a couple of links and maybe you looked at my LinkedIn because I included that in my bio that who's going to meet you. We know a little bit about each other as a start point, but it's a little bit. I would never want to make the assumptions. I don't know what state you've turned up in. I don't know where you're at in terms of what's happening with this problem and how it's playing out and what it means to you and what you want to do about it and how ready you are to change it, what the timelines are in changing it, whether you want to do it yourself, you want someone else to help, whether you've already looked at us, considered us, decided on us, we're one of 20. I don't know the answers to these questions. So I'm not even going to come close to talking about a potential solution and pitching and trying to close you until I have a pretty firm read on all those things. So my questions are going to cover those things. But it's going to be covered in a way, as it should always be in a sales call, that feel appropriate, that appeal to your self-interest, and the context, facilitates that, so to speak. You're not sort of going, where's that question coming from? Why are you asking me about that? Why do you want to know my age? Why are you asking me my blood type? Like you're going, why are you asking me that? So anytime I'm going to ask a question that could be a bit weird or even offensive or abrupt, if context wasn't given, I'll prepare you for it. Hey, James, being that we're going to look at your health, can I ask you a couple of questions a little on the personal side? I'm talking things like height, weight, blood type, history of illnesses. Can we go there? Are you open to going there or would you prefer not to? No, Michael, I'm open to going there. Now you'll answer every question I got. Well, listen, the reason I want to ask you that is because depending on your answers, it could depend whether we look at A, B, or C as a solution. Obviously, I only want to talk about the relevant one. So can we cover that off? And then based on your answers, I'll present what we've done in situations like yours and you can tell me what you think. You'll say yes every day of the week to that. There'll be no jarring. There'll be no pushback. We're flying. So to go full circle, the questions that you asked at the start of the call are just congruent with everything I just said then. It just fits within that. Getting clarity on where you're at, what's going on, how's it playing out, what does it mean to do, what do you want to do about it on the back of that, when do you want to do something about it, do you want help to do it, or do you want to do it yourself, do you want to look at our help, or if you already decided on somebody else, like, where are we at? Simplistic terms, where are we at? Where are we at and where do you want to go? And what are the factors in play? If you want to really simplify it, where are we at? Where do you want to go? What are the factors in play? On the back of that, I'll then make decisions about where I take this call, which might be disqualifying you and parting as friends, which might be you're too early for us or we're too early for you, which might be let's talk about a solution, which might be go to the guys across the road because based on where you're at and where you want to go and the factors in play, they're better for you than we are. And you're going to find it out at some stage, or either you find it out now that ask for a refund a week later, that I wouldn't want you to bring you in for the wrong reasons. So where are we at? Where do you want to go? What are the factors in play?
But if you were to break it down that simply, that process applies to every sales process. Like I'm in much longer sales processes now, much longer. And you'd be amazed how many, you wouldn't be amazed, how many sales guys they'll have a first meeting with someone. They finish that and they've just been mates for an hour and taken up an hour of their time. They don't know where they're at. They don't know the factors at play. They don't know what they're trying to do. They don't know where they want to go. So the next step is just like, we need to book another meeting so I can ask you these questions that I missed at the time. And even though it's not this hyper compressed hour call where it's sale or no sale, it's the same process the whole way through. At the very beginning, I just want to figure out where they're at, what the issues are, where they're trying to get to, factors at play, any limitations, so that the next step is figured out. And there's some people that I reach out to or speak to, and they're like, "Yep, let's do this." Not too many, but pretty early. There's a short sales cycle, whereas most of them are a lot longer.
Sure, 100%. I had this exact same conversation in a coaching call today. Like, don't discount the fact that some people come ready to buy or close to being ready to buy. You and I used to do gym memberships together back in the day. You can remember that, for 95% of our sales, we took them through the whole experience, which was to either they'd walk in off the street, like a walk-in, or they'd book an appointment with us. We would receive them, we'd sit them down, we do effectively a discovery. We then, based on their answers and their criteria, we would walk them around the gym, talking about solutions, what it would look and feel like on coming into our world and what they could expect. We put them on some equipment. How does that feel? We do all that sort of stuff. We'd introduce them to some friendly members so they could see it was full of normal people like them. Presuming that all went well, which it almost always did, we then bring them back, sit them down, pitch, close, 95% close rate, so get the paperwork, away we go. That was about a 30 to 40 minute experience typically. Often though, we joined Sally. Bill came in the next day, Sally's husband, walked in and just basically said, "I'm here to sign up." And I'd be thinking, are you a walk-in who knows nothing about the program, like the majority are, or are you a referral? I don't know. Depending on your answer, everything will change. So the first question I would ask would be something like, "Yeah, no worries at all. Do you know about the program? Have you been here before? Has someone joined, or are you coming in fresh off the street? Like, how can we help?" I'm trying to categorize them in one of the two categories because everything changes depending on their answer. "Oh, no, my wife Sally joined yesterday." "Oh, Sally, I know Sally. I actually spent half an hour with her." "Oh, great. So you're her husband?" "Yeah." "And did she tell you everything about it?" "Yes, she did. Everything." We'd play that out. Sorry about the phone. We'd play that out, and then I'd realize that I can close this guy in 1 minute. So guess what? I closed him in 1 minute. So because I understood where he was at, where he wanted to go, the factors in play, I didn't treat him cookie cutter style and take him on a 45-minute tour of the gym, which he would have been like, "Michael, I told you I'm here to sign up. I don't need to see this." And then that gets weird. Instead, I had a 1 minute sale. So like, this is no different. Where are you at? Where do you want to go? What are the factors in play? You might be like pretty much ready to sign. The marketing pre-call has like got you there. You're just here to dot one I and cross one T, which is basically to verify you're real. And I'm doing that, like, take my money. Others, you might be, "Look, I've got about 5 or 6 questions, but if I like the answers, I'm pretty good to go." The others might be, "Listen, I'm really early in my journey. Like, you're one of 10 options I'm considering. Like, no worries." But all three of those options I gave then is a very different experience and a very different conversation. And also, it doesn't mean you can't move them as well. Because if they said you're one of 10, it doesn't mean they're going to speak to all 10. Because if they like what they see today, maybe they'll just cut out the other 9 because they can't think of anything worse than speaking to 10 salespeople. So the first one that meets the criteria they're going to go with. I'd like to know that. Whereas the next person that comes
How
in,
many times they say, "I'm looking at a lot of other options," and
yeah,
they
but
buy
even that, don't take that take that on face value, but challenge it and unpack it in a non-confrontational way. Person A is like the first one I find I'm going with because I hate speaking to 10. The idea of speaking to 10 companies doing this 10 times is like pulling teeth. The other one says, "I'm very diligent and I'm very patient. I'm in no rush. I will speak to all 10 and I'll go into depth with all 10. Both can be in play. But I'd like to know which of the two are in play, and you can find it out. And depending on their answer, everything changes.
There are two very distinct ways for handling that. And there's the car salesman of like, "Oh, go speak to all 10 and come back to me with the best price," because they don't actually want to put in any effort. And I don't know about you, but if someone does that with me, I think, "Oh, you're really lazy. I'm not going to come back. Like, you will go through my buying process and then I'll do what I decide." And then you have other people, like the way we handle it, of like, "What would you need to see, feel, to be sure that this is the right option? What's your buying process?" You can actually understand where they're at and what they need to go through. But I feel like, again, that's a whole other tangent that we could pull apart in another call.
Yeah,
Maybe people that want to speak to multiple people before making a decision.
yeah, 100%. That would be a different call for sure. But that's where I'm coming from. So now that you've, I guess, seen it unpacked from my end and some examples given, where does that take you? Like, does that take you to the place of, I could do my version of that, or I keep doing what you're doing, or like, where do you land?
I already do my version of it. It was verbatim the way that you positioned it. It never really gelled.
Yep.
or no, it wasn't that it gelled. I just wasn't able to execute it in a way that felt authentic, and it was more to do
Yeah,
with delivery than anything else. But I already do my version of it.
yeah,
Just to kind of understand, like even with the stuff that I'm doing at the moment, it's just if someone calls me, I figure out pretty quickly, is everything breaking down? Are they really stressed? Are their staff about ready to leave? Like what's actually going on?
yeah,
Um, and I'll know on the back of that. And even sometimes if I can't get full clarity, be like, is this more of a like a nice to have, or how long? We'll pull apart that a little bit further.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. There's many ways to get there. And look, conceptually, I teach what I teach, but as far as the execution goes, I always say to the guys, like, make it yours, do it. It's your version of it. And the order doesn't have to be sequential either. Like, it can be quite modular. Like, if you go timelines first, important second, it's not the end of the day, end of the world. Sorry. I typically go importance first, timeline second. Um, because if they told me it's really important, it's kind of hard to say, but I'm going to fix it in 6 months. There's like a congruence there. But you can go the other way. You can definitely go the other way. I want to fix it now. Oh, it must be important then. So you can go the other way.
mm,
Or I'm 6 months away from it ready. Oh, I take it it's not important then. So you can go the other way. It doesn't matter. What matters is you hit the spots. It feels natural. It feels tailored to the situation. It's congruent with your personality, so you deliver it with confidence, not being awkward and weird, not trying to be a caricature or simulation of somebody else who you heard do it. You don't want to do that. And you get to where you need to get, and you get to where you need to get to, and you keep the conversation moving forward. You know,
yeah.
yeah, that's the objective. The how is very much secondary to the what.
Perfect. All right. I reckon we've covered this off. We know we need to do when someone wants to speak to multiple people next week or the week after. So let's wrap
Yep.
it up here, and we will pick that up then.
Yep. Cool. Good chat. Good to see you again.
Cheers.